Have you ever stopped to think that the reason you feel exhausted every day isn't because your life is too hard, but because your mind never stops fighting reality? Because the truth is, the problem has never been your schedule, it has never been your job, it has never even been your responsibilities. The problem has always been your need to control what cannot be controlled. And you feel it, that constant tension in your chest, that quiet anxiety that follows you everywhere, that invisible pressure telling you that if you don't stay alert, if you don't stay in control, everything will fall apart. You wake up and your mind is already racing. Notifications, deadlines, expectations, dopamine hits from your phone, masking a deeper exhaustion. You scroll, you compare, you overthink, and slowly, you become a prisoner of your own mind. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control everything, the more everything controls you. And you know it. You've tried to fix it. Productivity systems, morning routines, meditation apps, positive thinking. But nothing sticks. Because the truth is, this isn't a motivation problem. It's a control problem. And most people will never escape it. But some do. Centuries ago, there were men who lived under a level of pressure you cannot even imagine. One mistake, and they died. One moment of hesitation, and it was over. The samurai. They lived every day facing death, uncertainty, chaos, and yet they were calm, still, focused, unshakable. Not because their lives were easier, but because their minds were different. They didn't try to control everything. They mastered something deeper, a system, a mental framework, refined through discipline, suffering, and repetition, a system that allowed them to remain clear, even when everything around them was collapsing. And here's what's disturbing. Modern science is now proving they were right all along. Researchers at Stanford University found that people who practice observing their emotions without reacting actually rewire their brain. The prefrontal cortex strengthens, the amygdala, the fear center, becomes less reactive. In simple terms, they stop being controlled by their emotions. And studies from Harvard University show that one of the strongest predictors of long-term mental health is not success, is not money, is not even relationships. It's something far simpler. Acceptance. Radical acceptance of what you cannot control. But here's the problem. Modern culture teaches the exact opposite. It tells you to control everything, optimize everything, fix everything. And when you can't, you blame yourself. You think you're weak. You think you lack discipline. You think you need more motivation. But the truth is, the problem has never been your effort. It's been your direction. You've been fighting the wrong battle. And you're not alone in this. Not even close. Millions of people are trapped in the same loop. Anxiety, overthinking, mental exhaustion, different lives, same invisible prison. But in this video, I'm going to show you a different path. Not theory, not motivation, a system. A system built on three ancient Japanese principles: Fudoshin, Shikata Ganai, Gaman. After this video, you will not see your anxiety the same way again. You will not see control the same way again. And more importantly, you will finally understand why everything you've tried before didn't work. But before I show you exactly how this system works, through the story you're about to hear, welcome to this channel, where we build a community around ancient wisdom and modern discipline. If you want to master your mind, not just temporarily, but permanently, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment below. Just one word. What is your biggest mental battle right now? Anxiety, fear, overthinking, procrastination. Don't explain it. Just name it, because that one word is where your transformation begins. Now, let me tell you a story. A story about a man named Hunter who had everything under control until the day his mind broke. Chapter 1. The Mind That Never Stopped. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the story of a man who looked completely in control, but was slowly collapsing from the inside. His name was Hunter, 35 years old, living in Austin, Texas, digital marketing manager at a fast-growing tech company. On paper, he had everything: a 5-figure salary, a modern apartment in the city, a career most people would envy, the kind of life that looks perfect from the outside. But that's the illusion, because every morning, before the sun even rose, Hunter was already losing the first battle of the day. 5:30 a.m. Alarm rings. He doesn't stretch. He doesn't breathe. He reaches for his phone. Immediately, notifications, emails, messages, deadlines. His brain doesn't wake up slowly. It explodes into motion. 47 unread emails. Each one feels urgent. Each one feels dangerous. And before his feet even touch the ground, his heart is already racing. This was his normal. In the shower, his body stood still, but his mind didn't. What if the campaign fails? What if the client complains? What if the boss loses trust? What if? What if? What if? No answers, just noise. By the time he got dressed, he was already exhausted. Not physically, mentally. Because the truth is, Hunter wasn't tired from work. He was tired from thinking about work. On the way to the office, he listened to productivity podcasts, not because he enjoyed them, but because he was afraid not to. Every second had to be optimized. Every minute had to be useful. He wasn't trying to improve. He was trying to keep everything from falling apart. And at work, he became the version of himself everyone admired. First to arrive, last to leave. Always responsive, always available. But inside, something was breaking. Slack notifications felt like attacks. Meetings felt like tests. Every message carried pressure. His body stayed in a constant state of alert, like something bad was about to happen, at any moment. And when the day finally ended, it didn't really end, because at night, the silence made everything louder. He would lie in bed, staring into the dark, replaying conversations, analyzing mistakes, predicting problems, creating scenarios that didn't exist, but felt real. 2:00 a.m. Still awake, heart beating fast, mind spinning in loops. 3:00 a.m. He finally falls asleep, not because he relaxed, but because his body gave up. And then, just a few hours later, it starts again. The same cycle. Every day. No pause. No escape. And here's the part most people don't understand. Hunter was doing everything right. He exercised. He ate clean. He tried meditation. He used productivity systems. He was disciplined. But it didn't work. Because the truth is, the problem was never his habits. It was his relationship with control. He believed that if he could just manage everything, predict everything, optimize everything, he would finally feel calm. But the opposite happened. The more he tried to control life, the more life controlled him. And slowly, without realizing it, Hunter became trapped in something far more dangerous than failure. He became trapped in his own mind. A loop, an endless cycle. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break it. And the scariest part, he thought this was normal. Chapter 2. The collapse. But here's the problem. No system built on control can survive reality. And Hunter was about to learn that the hard way. It was a Thursday, a big day, an investor presentation, 3 weeks of preparation, late nights, short sleep, endless revisions, every slide, perfected, every word, rehearsed. He had done everything right, or at least, that's what he thought. The room was ready. 6 investors, senior executives, his CEO standing beside him. This was the moment. The kind of moment that defines a career. Hunter opened the presentation. Slide 1, clear, confident. Slide 2, still in control. Slide 3, everything flowing. And then, slide 4, something broke. Not outside, inside. His mind stopped, completely blank. His heart started racing. Faster, louder. His hands began to shake. The room felt smaller. The air heavier. He looked at the faces in front of him, but couldn't process anything. Words disappeared. Thoughts vanished. Just noise. Panic. Pure panic. "Hunter, are you all right?" The CEO's voice. Distant, almost unreal. But Hunter wasn't there anymore. For the first time in 35 years, he lost control. Not partially. Completely. I need. Nothing came out. He stepped back, walked out, left everything behind. The room, the people, the moment. He locked himself in the bathroom, sat on the cold floor, and for the first time in years, he stopped pretending. He broke. Not because of the presentation, not because of the pressure, but because his entire system had failed him. All the control, all the planning, all the discipline. Useless. Because life doesn't follow your plans, and anxiety doesn't negotiate. He sat there, breathing fast, hands trembling, trying to understand what just happened. But deep down, he already knew. This wasn't a bad day, this wasn't stress. This was something deeper, something he could no longer ignore. Because the truth is, Hunter didn't collapse in that room. He had been collapsing for years, silently, slowly, every anxious morning, every sleepless night, every moment of forced control. This was just the first time it became visible, and the scariest part, it happened at the moment that mattered most. Not when he was alone, not when he was safe, but when everything was on the line. That's how reality works. It doesn't break you when you're ready. It breaks you when you least expect it. And in that moment, sitting on the cold bathroom floor, Hunter faced something he had avoided his entire life. He wasn't in control. He never was. And now, he had a choice. Keep pretending, or finally, change everything. Chapter 3. The Encounter. And then something changed. Not because Hunter figured it out, but because he finally ran out of ways to pretend he had. 10 minutes after the collapse, there was a knock on the bathroom door. "Hunter, open up." It was his CEO, Richard. Mid. 50s. Calm. Controlled. The kind of man who didn't panic easily. Hunter hesitated, then unlocked the door. They didn't talk in the hallway. They went into an empty room. Silence first. Then a simple question. "How long have you been like this?" Hunter wanted to lie. Say it was just stress, a bad day, a one-time thing. But something inside him was too tired to keep the mask on. 2 years, maybe more. Richard nodded slowly. No judgment, no surprise. "I've been exactly where you are." Hunter looked up, confused. "You, 10 years ago," Richard said. "I ended up in the hospital. Thought I was having a heart attack." Pause. "Turns out, my body was fine. It was my mind that was killing me." Silence again. But this time, it felt different. Not empty. Heavy. "What did you do?" Hunter asked. Richard leaned back slightly. "I met someone. Not a productivity coach. Not a motivational speaker. Someone who taught me something I didn't want to hear." Hunter frowned. What? Richard looked straight at him. "That I wasn't in control." The words landed hard, because they went against everything Hunter believed. "I can give you his contact," Richard continued. "But I'll warn you, this isn't comfortable." Hunter let out a quiet breath. At this point, comfort wasn't what he needed. He had tried comfort. It didn't work. "I'll take it." 3 days later, Hunter sat in a quiet office. Minimal, clean, no distractions. The door opened. Dr. Takahashi entered, around 60 years old, grey hair, straight posture, movement slow, precise, not like a therapist, more like a man who had mastered something. He sat down. No notebook, no typing, no rushing, just presence. "Hunter," he said calmly, "tell me, what brought you here?" And for the first time, Hunter didn't try to sound strong. He told the truth. The anxiety, the sleepless nights, the panic attack, the constant need to control everything. When he finished, he waited. Expected advice, techniques, breathing exercises, solutions. "But doctor," Takahashi didn't give him any of that. Instead, he asked one question, a question that would change everything. How much of your life are you trying to control that you actually can't? Hunter paused, because deep down, he already knew the answer. Almost all of it. Chapter 4. Kaizen, the system of small wins. But here's the problem. Hunter had spent years trying to fix everything, all at once. Overnight transformation, perfect routines, total control, and every time, he failed. Not because he was weak, but because his system was broken. Dr. Takahashi leaned forward slightly. You don't need to fix your life, he said. You need to rebuild it, one step at a time. Hunter frowned. That sounds slow. It is, pause. And that's why it works. Kaizen, a simple Japanese principle. Small improvements, repeated daily, not dramatic, not impressive, but relentless. You try to change everything in one day, the doctor continued. That's why you collapse in one day. Silence, because it was true. Hunter's pattern was always the same. He felt overwhelmed, then tried to overcorrect. Wake up earlier, work harder, think more positively, control more variables. For a few days, he felt in control. Then, he crashed. Again. Kaizen breaks that cycle. It doesn't ask for motivation. It doesn't require intensity. It demands consistency. Start smaller than you think is necessary, Doctor. Takahashi said, when anxiety comes, don't try to eliminate it. Just observe it for 10 seconds. That's all. Hunter almost laughed. That won't change anything. Doctor, Takahashi looked at him calmly. It will change everything, because the truth is, transformation doesn't come from big actions. It comes from repeated small decisions. Every day, every moment. You don't become strong in a day. You become strong by not quitting on the smallest step. And in that moment, Hunter realized something dangerous. He didn't fail because he lacked discipline. He failed because he was chasing intensity instead of building a system so small he couldn't escape it. And that's where everything began to shift, not in a breakthrough, but in a decision, a small one, that he would repeat again and again and again. Chapter 5. The Practice and the Relapse. At first, it felt too simple to matter. 10 seconds. Just observe. Do nothing. Hunter didn't believe it would work, but he tried anyway, because for the first time, he wasn't trying to control everything. He was just following the system. That same afternoon, an email arrived. Subject line, we need to talk. My office. Now. Instant reaction. Heart racing. Chest tight. Thoughts exploding. I'm getting fired. I messed up. This is it. The old pattern. Fast. Automatic. Violent. But then he remembered. Stop. 10 seconds. He didn't move, didn't react, just observed. The anxiety wasn't everywhere. It was specific. Chest. Tight. Heavy. Breath. Shallow. That was it. Not reality. Just sensation. He took one slow breath, then made a decision. I'll go and see what actually happens. Not what he imagined. What was real. He walked into the office, sat down, waited, and the result? Not a firing, not a disaster. The CEO wanted to reduce his workload, help him, support him. Hunter walked out, confused, because for years he had been reacting to things that never actually happened. But don't misunderstand this moment. This wasn't a transformation, not yet, because the next day he failed, badly. Another email, another trigger. This time, he didn't stop, didn't observe. He reacted instantly, spiraled, overthought, lost sleep again, back to 2 a.m., back to racing thoughts, back to the loop. Same old Hunter. And that's where most people quit. They fail once and assume the system doesn't work. But that's not the truth. The truth is, relapse is part of the system. Dr. Takahashi had warned him. You will forget. You will react. You will fall back. pause. But that's not failure. That's practice. Because every time Hunter noticed, even after reacting, he was building awareness. And awareness comes before control. Slowly, very slowly, something changed. Not in his results, in his response. He didn't stop feeling anxiety. He stopped being owned by it. Some days he won, some days he didn't. But he kept going, small step after small step, because now he understood something most people never do. You don't break the cycle in one moment. You break it by returning every single time you fall. And that is where real change begins. Chapter 6. The Science of the Mind. But here's what makes this system different. It's not just philosophy, it's biology. Because every time Hunter reacted with anxiety, it wasn't just in his head. It was his brain, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Deep inside your brain, there's a structure called the amygdala. Its job detect threats, keep you alive. The problem is, it doesn't know the difference between a real danger and an email from your boss. To the amygdala, both feel the same. So it triggers a response. Heart rate increases, breathing shortens, muscles tense, fight, flight, freeze, instant, automatic. And when that happens, another part of your brain shuts down. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, decision-making, self-control. So in moments of anxiety, you're not thinking clearly, you're reacting. That's why Hunter couldn't speak in the meeting. That's why his mind went blank. Not weakness, biology. But here's where everything changes. When Hunter practiced those 10 seconds, he wasn't just calming down. He was interrupting the loop. He was creating space between stimulus and response. And in that space, the prefrontal cortex comes back online. Control returns, slowly. And the more he repeated this, the stronger that pathway became. This is called neuroplasticity. Your brain rewires itself based on what you repeatedly do. If you panic every time anxiety appears, you strengthen panic. If you observe instead of react, you build control, day by day, moment by moment. That's why Kaizen works. Not because it's motivational, but because it's neurological. Small actions, repeated consistently, rewire the brain. So over time, Hunter didn't just feel better, he became different. Because the truth is, you don't defeat anxiety by fighting it. You retrain your brain to stop seeing it as a threat. And once that happens, everything changes. Not outside, inside. Conclusion: the path you choose. So here's the truth. Hunter's story was never just about Hunter. It was about you. Because the same patterns, the same anxiety, the same illusion of control exist in your life right now, just in different forms. And now, you see it. Clear, simple, unavoidable. The problem has never been your lack of discipline. It has never been your lack of effort. The problem has always been where you direct your energy. So let's strip everything down. No complexity, no theory, just the system. 3 principles. That's all you need. Fudoshin. Observe your emotions. Do not become them. Shikata ganai. Accept what you cannot control. Stop wasting energy fighting reality. Gaman. Endure with dignity. Feel everything, but don't break. That's it. Simple, but not easy. Because knowing changes nothing. Action changes everything. So here's your challenge. Not a big one, not something extreme, something small, something uncomfortable, something real. For the next 14 days, every time anxiety appears, you do one thing. You stop. 10 seconds. No reaction, no escape, no distraction. Just observe. Where is it in your body, chest, stomach, throat? Don't fix it. Don't fight it. Just see it. Then breathe once and choose your response. That's it. But you must do it every single time, because this is not about one moment. It's about identity. You are not someone who reacts anymore. You are someone who observes, then decides, and if you fail, you will. You come back to it. Again, and again, and again. That's the path. Because the truth is, you don't fail when you feel anxiety. You fail when you let it control your actions. So don't wait. Don't wait until you burn out. Don't wait until you collapse. Don't wait until your mind forces you to change. Start now. Start small. But start, because 14 days from now, you will either be the same person, trapped in the same loop, or someone who has taken the first step out. And that decision is yours. So I'll ask you one question, a real one, not for the comments, for yourself. When the next wave of anxiety hits, will you react like you always have, or will you finally become someone different? Kamen Ban da Zem Den Turn Day. If this video meant something to you, don't just leave. Commit. Comment one word below. Fudoshin, Shikata Ganai, or Gaman. Make it public. Make it real. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because this is not motivation. This is transformation. And there's more waiting for you on the next video. But remember this, don't wait until everything is perfect. Start before you're ready. Cảm ơn bạn đã xem hết video này. And until next time, hãy hiện diện, bước đi với danh dự và đi theo con đường